Daily English Lab, the podcast where real conversations help you speak real English. Hey, English learners, welcome back to Daily English Lab. I'm Lily.
And I'm Henry. And today we have a very special episode because we're talking about something that only happens every 4 years.
The FIFA World Cup 2026.
The biggest sporting event on the planet. The one that stops cities, fills streets with flags, turns strangers into friends, and makes grown adults cry in public, completely acceptably.
And this year, it's even bigger than usual.
Much bigger. 48 teams for the first time in history. 3 host countries, the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
So today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to talk about the World Cup the way fans actually talk about it. With passion, with vocabulary, with opinions. And we're going to give you all the English you need to join any World Cup conversation confidently, whether you're watching with friends, talking at work, or commenting online. Football, or soccer if you're American, is a universal language. And today, we're adding English to that.
Let's kick off.
Henry, let's start with the basics. For listeners who haven't been following the news, what makes the 2026 World Cup different from every previous one?
3 things. First, the size. For the first time ever, 48 teams are competing instead of the previous 32. That means more countries, more stories, more surprises.
More underdogs.
Exactly. More moments where a smaller nation beats a giant. And those are always the moments everyone remembers.
Second difference?
The hosts. 3 countries sharing one World Cup. The United States, Canada, and Mexico. This is unprecedented. Never been done at this scale before.
The USA alone has 16 host cities. 16. From New York to Los Angeles, from Dallas to Seattle.
The logistics of that alone are extraordinary. But it also means the atmosphere will be enormous. 3 countries worth of passionate fans.
And the third thing that makes it special?
The timing. This is the last World Cup before the 2030 Centenary Tournament. And it falls in a period of extraordinary global football talent. We are genuinely watching some of the best players in history right now.
Players whose careers may not make it to 2030.
Exactly. Some of the greatest are in their final chapters. This might be their last World Cup. And that gives every match an extra weight.
High stakes from the very first game. Henry, do you have a World Cup memory that stayed with you?
Several, but one stands out above everything.
Tell me.
2014, Brazil. The semifinal between Brazil and Germany. I watched it with a group of people in a small bar, most of whom were supporting Brazil. And within the first half hour, Germany were leading by 4 goals.
The 7-1.
The 7-1. The most shocking result in World Cup history. And the silence in that room, that absolute stunned silence, I have never experienced anything like it in any sporting moment. Like the air left the room. Completely. And then gradually people started laughing. Not unkindly, just the way you laugh when something is so extreme it stops making sense as a bad thing and becomes almost surreal.
What does that game teach you about the World Cup?
That anything can happen. That no result is guaranteed. That the World Cup exists in a different emotional territory from regular football. Everything is amplified. The joy, the pain, the shock.
One match can define a generation.
And that's why people who claim they don't care about football still watch the World Cup. Because it's not really about football. It's about drama. It's about humanity. It's about shared experience.
Lily, what about you? Do you follow football closely? Honestly, only during the World Cup. I'm what you'd call a casual fan.
The World Cup makes casual fans of everyone.
It really does. There's something about it that pulls you in, even if you haven't watched a single club match all year. Suddenly, you're invested. Suddenly, you're checking scores first thing in the morning.
Suddenly you have opinions about referees.
Very strong opinions about referees. My clearest World Cup memory is 2018, France versus Croatia in the final. I watched it with my family, and I remember my mother, who has never followed football in her life, suddenly standing up and shouting at the television.
The World Cup does that to people.
It completely bypasses your normal relationship with the sport and goes straight to the emotional part. My mother didn't know the offside rule. She still doesn't, but she cared enormously about what was happening on that screen. Because sport at its best is storytelling, and everyone understands a story. And the World Cup tells the best stories in sport. Every 4 years, without fail.
Dear learner, maybe you're a passionate football fan who watches every match. Or maybe you're like me, someone who only really pays attention during the World Cup.
Either way, the conversations are happening all around you. At work, with friends, online, in cafes.
And today, we want to make sure you can join those conversations in English, with confidence and with the right vocabulary.
Because talking about football is a genuine social skill, and it's one of the fastest ways to connect with people from any country in the world. Let's get into the vocabulary, starting with the most essential words every English football fan uses.
First, the pitch. In British English, the football field is called the pitch. The players are on the pitch. The conditions on the pitch were difficult tonight.
American English uses the field. Both are understood, but pitch sounds more football specific.
Then, the squad. The squad is the full group of players selected to represent a country at the tournament. The manager announced his squad of 26 players.
Different from the starting 11, the 11 players who actually begin the match.
The starting 11 or the starting lineup? The manager confirmed his starting lineup for tomorrow's match.
Then, a fixture. A fixture is a scheduled match. The fixture list has been announced. They have a tough fixture against the defending champions.
Very useful word. It makes you sound like a real fan immediately.
An upset. An upset is when a lower-ranked team beats a higher-ranked team unexpectedly. That was one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history.
The word that captures those moments everyone lives for at a World Cup.
And the group stage. The group stage is the first round of the tournament, where teams play in groups of 4. They need to win today to advance from the group stage.
After the group stage comes the knockout rounds, where one loss means you go home.
Knockout football, the most dramatic format in sport. Everything matters. Every moment counts.
Now let's talk about how to actually describe matches and players in English, because "it was good" is not going to impress anyone at a World Cup party.
Definitely not. Let's start with describing a performance. They were dominant. Means one team controlled the match completely. They were dominant from the first whistle.
From the first whistle, from the very beginning of the match, the whistle signals the start. Nice natural phrase.
They were clinical, means extremely efficient in front of goal. Every chance converted. They were clinical in the second half. 3 chances, 3 goals.
Clinical is a word you hear constantly in football commentary. Learn it and use it.
They were under pressure, facing difficult moments, being forced to defend. The team was under enormous pressure in the final 10 minutes.
For describing individual players, he was outstanding. The highest simple praise. She was absolutely outstanding in midfield tonight.
Or he was the standout player, the best performer on the pitch. She was the standout player of the tournament.
And for a bad performance, he was off the pace. Not quick enough, not at the right level. Or they looked flat. No energy, no intensity.
They looked flat in the second half and paid the price. Very natural football English.
Paid the price. Suffered the consequence of their poor performance. Beautiful phrase.
The best part of any World Cup conversation, predictions and opinions. Let's give learners the phrases for this.
I think they've got what it takes. I believe they have the quality and character to win. They've got a talented squad and an experienced manager. I think they've got what it takes.
They're the favorites going in. They are expected by most people to win. Brazil are the favorites going in, but World Cups have a history of surprises.
They're a dark horse. A team that is not expected to win, but could surprise everyone. I think Morocco could be a dark horse this tournament.
Dark horse is such a useful phrase, used in sport, in business, in elections, whenever something unexpected might happen.
I can't see past them. I cannot imagine anyone else winning. Honestly, I can't see past France. They have too much quality.
And for disagreement, I wouldn't write them off. Don't dismiss them too quickly. People are ignoring Japan, but I wouldn't write them off. They're well organized and difficult to beat.
These phrases make any World Cup conversation sound natural and confident. They're the phrases actual fans use, not textbook phrases.
And they work for any sport, any competition, any context where you're discussing who might win something.
Let's talk about one more layer, the emotional language, because the World Cup produces emotions that are genuinely hard to describe, and having the English for those feelings is really powerful.
Gutted. British English for deeply disappointed. Stronger than sad, more specific than devastated. I was absolutely gutted when they went out in the quarterfinals.
Americans might say devastated or crushed instead, but gutted is one of those British football words that everyone understands.
On the edge of your seat, completely tense with excitement, unable to relax. That last 10 minutes had me on the edge of my seat.
It went to penalties. The match was decided by a penalty shootout. The most nerve-wracking way to end a match. We won, but it went to penalties. I could barely watch.
So tense that looking at the screen became difficult. One of the most honest football sentences in the English language.
And the atmosphere was electric, describing a stadium or a viewing experience where the energy was extraordinary. The atmosphere in the stadium was absolutely electric from the first minute.
These emotional phrases are what separates someone who talks about football from someone who talks about football the way fans do, with feeling, with lived experience in every word.
Let's take today's key phrases into the word tour.
Our first word is upset. 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 In sport, an upset is when a lower-ranked team beats a stronger opponent unexpectedly. You could say, that was one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. Or, nobody predicted that upset. The whole world was shocked.
Our next phrase is dark horse. Dark horse. Dark horse. It describes a competitor that is unexpected to win, but has a real chance of surprising everyone. You could say, I think they could be the dark horse of this tournament. Or, nobody's talking about them, but they might just be the dark horse.
Our next word is clinical. 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 Clinical.
In football, it means extremely efficient and precise, especially in scoring. You could say they were clinical in front of goal. Every chance counted. Or that was a clinical performance from start to finish.
Our next phrase is on the edge of your seat. On the edge of your seat. On the edge of your seat. It means completely tense with excitement or anxiety. You could say, that match had me on the edge of my seat until the final whistle. Or, it was the kind of game that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Our last phrase is gutted. 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 British English for deeply disappointed. You could say, I was absolutely gutted when we lost in the final minute. Or, the players looked gutted at the final whistle. 5 words. Upset, dark horse, clinical, on the edge of your seat, and gutted. 5 words that make you sound like a real football fan in English.
Now it's time to use your English. Right here. This is Speak with Lily. Say your lines out loud, with passion and energy. This is football, after all.
Let's talk about the World Cup 2026. Which team are you supporting and why?
Strong choice. Now, do you think your team has what it takes to go far in the tournament? Honest assessment. Now, tell me, which team do you think could be the dark horse of this World Cup? Interesting prediction. And which match are you most looking forward to watching? That sounds like it'll be on the edge of your seat viewing. One final question. What would it mean to you if your country won the World Cup? Hold on to that feeling. That's what the World Cup is really about.
Thank you for speaking with such passion today.
So, dear learner, the World Cup 2026 is here. The biggest tournament in history. 48 teams, 3 host nations, billions of people watching.
And now you have the English to be part of every conversation. The vocabulary, the phrases, the emotional language. Talk about the matches, share your predictions, celebrate the upsets, feel every moment. And whether your team lifts the trophy or goes out on penalties, enjoy every single minute of it. Take care of your English. And take care of your team. This is Lily. This is Henry. And you've been listening to Daily English Lab. Bye for now, and may the best team win.